Welcome to Are We the Only Ones? I'm Kathy, and today I want to talk about Melania, the only Melania that is in the news right now. Okay, so if you don't know, she decided to do a press conference, and in the world of unforced errors, which there has been a lot of unforced errors recently in both government and pop culture, this is probably one of the most stupendous unforced errors in the history of politics. Because even though we all knew, I feel like most of us knew, except for the people that are their supporters that are in denial. We all knew that there was an Epstein connection with Melania because they were all friends before. They're on each other's private planes. They're using modeling agencies as a recruiting pool for human trafficking. And we know that she used an H-1B1 visa that's an Einstein visa to get in as a citizen to the United States, which is immigration fraud. Now, multiple things are interesting because what she did is she came out and she decided to state unequivocally that she wanted that the connections being reported by the media, she said calculating in the news, but she meant circulating in the news. She clearly did not read the speech before she went out there, which is another amateur move. She basically reignited a firestorm that nobody was really talking about because I think for some people it was just understood. And for other people, it was maybe to them a rumor. By her going out there and saying, I don't know him. I'm not friends with him. I had one email where I complimented her and maybe a lunch. And she's basically trying to say, like, that doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't mean that she should be talked about where they're connected, I think is what she was trying to convey. Now, what was interesting is like in the world of internet sleuths and like internet culture, when someone comes out and says something that we know is false, the internet goes off. And it did. And what was really interesting was that it's a form of gaslighting, what she's trying to do to the public, not just to the American people, but to the global public. Because now when you share things on social media, they go all over the world. So I'll have comments from people in languages like I don't even know. I have to like translate the comments and figure out like where is this coming from. So that means that she knows that I think because other countries are going after people related to the Epstein files and like going into Elon Musk's headquarters and like freezing their accounts, going into the Rothschild Bank in Paris, investigating them. She can feel it's coming. I think what she wants to do is basically distance herself from any criminal implications. And she doesn't want to be associated with it because she doesn't want to go down when it all goes down. Because she knows inevitably it's going to go down. There's too much evidence. There are a lot of people are like, oh, it's AI. Da, da, da. The fact remains that there's a lot of evidence that supports it. And whether people make AI photos or not, the events happened. That's not in dispute. So it's just really what we're trying to figure is how many people knew, how detailed, intricate, how bad, how did they fund it, how did they move it. We're all trying to figure that out. Whether it happened is not in dispute. Jeffrey Epstein, St. James Island, satanic cabal, kids getting used in all different ways, breeding programs, obviously rape, sexual assault, obviously also like whatever kind of servitude that you can imagine. I would, anything is on the table when it comes to what they could do to children and what they did do to children. Because Nothing in your imagination will be able to catch up with what is actually in the file. So like when you read the file, you're not going to be able to believe that it's real. And you understand like, no, this is the evidence that's in the DOJ that they're releasing. And it's so vast that they can't even like redact it properly, which tells you that there's overwhelming amounts of evidence, not that there is a lack of evidence. And everybody that's in denial, I think it's really interesting because you're supporting and defending pedophiles. Like it's the weirdest thing. So I find it so, from an anthropological perspective, how interesting it is that people can stay faithful. I mean, these are the people that have like deep faith in God generally, and you have to have a huge amount of blind faith to really like get deep into religion, right? So that same amount of like belief structure to have just faith is perfect for somebody like the Trump administration, right? So what's interesting is that she comes out and confirms essentially that the thing is not a hoax by doing that. Whether she understood that that's what she was doing or not is actually quite hilarious. I also thought it was ironic that now I come from a family that didn't speak English as their first language, so I can say this with like fairness and observational understanding. I did not know that she did not speak English that well. I'm surprised that the GOP doesn't have a problem with her inability to speak English with a perfect American accent by now. I mean, I have a better accent than her by a lot, lot. So that's why I think it's very interesting that we've come full circle and how tolerant the GOP on the right have become about foreign voices. So I think there's a full circle moment happening where everything is converging, where I think we're going to have a reset of morality and dignity, because right now also Representative Eric Swalwell is his 4 accusers, one specifically that is super credible, excuse me, of I believe it's rape. It's actual rape. And he's about to, I think, get expelled from Congress. And the Manhattan DA is actually has called for an investigation, and I would imagine is going to file charges. So, as a Democrat, I'm like, yay, we got another predator out. Now, do the White House. We have 2 systems running concurrently right now, or simultaneously. And it's interesting because even in the elite level of the government, it's like 2 different justice systems happening. And it's falling on the really shitty people are the ones that are getting away with the most. And it may be because there's a human behavioral thing about, I don't know, us as human beings or Americans, that like if you set a standard low, we'll meet you at that low standard. If you set your standard of yourself to be high, we demand that that's the system you're on. So it's like, if you are a piece of shit, then there's a piece of shit justice system and court of public opinion that if you've always been a piece of shit and we've always known you're a piece of shit, we will have a different set of almost like not rules, but kind of like a rating system to determine how bad you are. And if you should be like, if you're in the media, like canceled, if you're in like pop culture, like that canceled, or whatever it be, whether it be like a legal thing or not. And then there's the other system, which is like you have held yourself to a high standard. So therefore that's your brand. So therefore that's what the public expects from you. If you fuck up, even if it's not that big of a deal compared to the piece of shit people that are having drama, you will be held to a higher standard. And then we have to kind of all talk it out. And then only if you're in the criminal system, I think even then you have a better chance because there's like discovery and depositions and like research and all that stuff and investigatory benchmarks. But even then, sometimes like think people with power can tip the scale, whether it be with better representation or they can actually like obstruct justice in some way, whether it be bribery or through a network and just like owed favors from previous hangouts or whatever. So, what is happening that we are seeing that's, I think the international community has gotten stronger as a result. And of course, by not default, but like as a result, the American leverage structure in the geopolitical diplomacy world has disintegrated. And I don't know how long it will be to get it back. Maybe because he's such an outlier weirdo that like once he's gone, it just kind of like, okay, we'll go back to normal with like some remnants of like weird shit. But I also think that there's a level of accountability that we haven't had that we will have moving forward that will stick for, I want to say 20 years. I would imagine 20, maybe 30 years before it has to be like reminded. The generations have to be reminded if there's like another person that like shows up. If we don't have laws that are set up to then neutralize a person that wants to like, what is it, reboot fascism, then we'd have a problem. But I think, hopefully, there would be a structure. I mean, I think we also need to do maybe term limits for Supreme Court justices now. We might need to do new term limits for Congress. We should probably do an age limit or a mental like health requirement. So you'd have to have an eval, a mental health eval to run for office. But then I guess that would mean you have to waive your right to privacy for your medical. So I don't know, like how would that work? You know, there's like if you don't want to waive your right to privacy, is that because you argue that's free speech, so you don't want to waive your right to privacy and therefore you shouldn't if you're running for presidency? I mean, it's a whole thing, right? How do you limit the ability to corrupt the system and tear it down moving forward? Do we have the willpower to do it? I think the irony is that this first lady may have accidentally like helped us all out because by reinvigorating the conversation about her connection and how she met him, whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was the actual person that introduced them first. I know that Paolo Zampolli is also actually the actual person that introduced Donald Trump and Melania Trump, and then he became like a special envoy in the Trump administration, or he's currently is special envoy. And one of the women that was was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein ended up being introduced to Paolo Zampolli, and then he became his wife. They had a child together, and when they went through a divorce and through the custody battle hearings and stuff, he actually had ICE deport her and detain her, and she's pissed. Her name is Amanda Ungaro. She was a model. There is photographic evidence, and this dude Paolo Zampolli is like has always been bragging that like Epstein didn't introduce them, I did. So that's also on record. But irrespective of who introduced who, that's really not the point. Like we have pictures of Melania like kissing Jeffrey Epstein, and based on all the modeling stuff that I've ever had to be involved with as a fashion designer, and in the time period where Ivanka was modeling, I never saw Melania's comp card, not once. She was never submitted through any agency that I like know of. I saw Ivanka Trump's comp card. So Trump model management was legitimate in a sense where like they actually did submit models for work. But interestingly enough, there's no real, like she never really worked as a model. It's a very loose term, right? Like I've technically modeled because I've done hair modeling. I've done like stock photo modeling, like stuff like that. So, but like I don't go identifying myself as a model. That's not. So it's interesting because technically, if you just get paid to do that job one time, then you are technically that, right? But I would say she was more close, like the way that the modeling industry works and the pageant industry, which makes sense because Donald Trump owned the pageant, right? Owned Miss USA, right? Which apparently is different than Miss America. So, what the exit strategy has always been for models and for women that are beautiful, but not women that like have that it factor, X factor, the eloquence to be able to, go into broadcasting, the eloquence to be able to host, the quick wittedness to be able to like break through, be like good enough that you would know their name and like book them for things, right? So if you can't do that after being a beautiful face and a beautiful body and all that, then your best option is to get married to a wealthy man. And this is actually like the process. Like they literally say this. It's not like, okay, hush, hush, this is what you could do, or like theoretically you could do that. No, it's like, okay, so this is ladies, we're gonna send you to a party. There's gonna be a lot of rich men there, and maybe you'll find a rich husband. It's like very much the way that you would have an exit strategy. Like it's literally, it's not frowned upon. It's just like, okay, like this is what you got. This is what you got to do. This is the path. This is the roadmap. This is literally like, it is what it is, right? Let's just like keep it real. So in that environment, it is very difficult to separate professional and predatory behavior. And because of that, I'm sure Melania did think she was a model, but in reality, she was more like an escort. In reality, she was more like, setting a party. She could probably be like a promotional model, like models that are paid. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a lot of, they're called activations. But like if you go to a party for like a liquor event or like a whatever product, clothing line, launch for anything. And if there's a lot of beautiful people there, I guarantee that they were hired to be there to set the scene for all the investors to come and all the media and to make it look hot and happening. But they got invited to be there or paid or whatever. So imagine like that's your job. That's what you do. You go and you like on the entry levels, like you would be doing like a product demo at a convention or grocery store or like local product lunch. On a bigger level, when you're doing that, you might be, it's not that different from like pharmaceutical sales rep. Pharmaceutical sales reps are good looking. It's just a known fact. And it's kind of like, that's the professional level. Like if you were a model and then you decided to go into pharmaceutical sales, that's actually like pretty like, dude, that's badass kind of thing. Because you're empowering yourself to go do the hustle yourself. The other option, which is exactly what, if you watch The Real Housewives of Rhode Island, there is a woman on there who is Miss Rhode Island, and she is essentially Captain One. She claims to live in a 16,000 square foot mansion alone, and her man lives 6 months out of the year with another partner somewhere else. Turns out that man is the grandson of Judge Frank, I think Capriati, who was a very beloved judge who like was really famous on social media for being like one of the kindest, most like understanding judges, who recently passed away from cancer. But it's an interesting like, kind of like connection, and that there are women that live like that, right? She was a pageant girl. She is now living the life, but like, is that the life that, is that really the dream life? was actually discussing this with my husband. I was like, that would be tough. Like if you're a woman and that gets offered to you, like that crosses your path at like 23, that is probably the best decision at that time. But realistically, it's like, is that what you want for your life, right? She's completely taken care of, doesn't pay for anything, lives the good life, gets to wear amazing designer clothes, all that stuff, right? All the material stuff. She's got all the material stuff. Emotionally, she doesn't have her man 6 months out of the year, and she has to share him. So it's like a polyamorous relationship. Not sure if she gets to date other people or not. I'm guessing she does, or at least like hook up with other people. I don't know, but you know, there's other ways that people live, and when you're beautiful and not necessarily like you could be. I mean, some of these women could be very smart, but they just don't want to go work that hard, you know. So like that was something that I had noticed with Summer House because I've been watching Summer House back. Just finished season 1, 2, 3, and 4, and realized that I hadn't started the show until season 5, and I was like, oh. And it was interesting to see everything back with Amanda, Batula, and Kyle Cook because now you can see they've been having the same, literally the exact same problems in a cycle. It's like every 5-year cycle. There's like a 2-year, and then and I guess 3 years, it was like 2, and then 3, which made it 5, and then now they're in their 5th, and it like really broke down. But it was interesting because there are just some women that either will work or they don't want to work that hard. And what I was my takeaway from that relationship was that if you are a workaholic, you have to be with another former workaholic, recovering workaholic, but somebody who had a workaholic like background in their life. Because nobody that's not a workaholic will understand what it's like to be with somebody in a romantic relationship that is a workaholic. That's just real. Like, because somebody who doesn't want to work that hard will never understand why somebody who does want to work that hard does that. And they get resentful. And it's almost like the job is like a mistress. So the only way that you would have somebody that would be a good partner if you're a workaholic is to have somebody that totally used to live that life. So they totally understand the time that you will spend working and talking about work and caring about work and just thinking about work. So I could see from the beginning like that was a disastrous pairing. Beautiful photogenically. They look great together. But personality wise, especially the whole like living together thing, like apparently she's a slob and he's not. To the extent that he's willing to pay for cleaning, but then she just like messes it all up again. Like she doesn't like maintain it. And so I realized, well, part of that could be depression, but part of that is just like also just being lazy. And when she's talking about being with Kyle, she's like, oh my God, I thought it was going to be this romantic, like we're going to have sex on the kitchen couch. But it turns out it's like living with my dad. Because all he does is tell me what to do, tell me what to clean, and tell me how to, like, I need to do my chores. And I was like, oh my God. That's so funny. It's so real, but it's so funny too, because she's 9 years younger than him. Like, of course, the dynamic is like a parent child to a certain extent, or like big brother, little sister vibe in a weird, from a logistical, domestic, equitable situation. I could see how it would turn out like that. And he's an entrepreneur on like the umpteenth level. So what I like about Kyle is that he always seems to make opportunities for people. He creates them for his friends. Like he did that for Kyle a lot, or for Carl a lot. Carl and Kyle. So I could appreciate that because I have that same personality. But I also have run into situations where like if you give an opportunity to somebody who's like not ambitious, what they're doing is they're looking at you because you got the engine and they're expecting you to do all of it. And they're like, oh, cool, I can just like coast on this person. And they don't realize, no, I expect you to perform as much as I'm performing. Not that like you get to ride on my willpower. And so what I noticed ended up happening with her, which I think is a pretty common archetype, she began to like, even though they were a partnership, she like became almost like a parasitic uh, presence, where she's basically like, instead of helping him, she's he's got deadlines, right? She's creative director of the brand for his drink cover company, Loverboy. And he's out there like selling constantly, having sale, like, because he's also developing the drink. It's his idea, it's his money, it's his administrative management style. He's got to manage and hire all the staff. He's got to know how to direct them. He's got to know how to motivate them. And he's got to know how to like execute everything, right? She's supposed to just do like graphic design, brand direction, and I think like social media posts. There's a point where he's like, "You haven't even posted in 30 days on Instagram." I was like, "Oh my God." And then she was supposed to be doing the graphics and banners for the website, and she just kept putting up each day. Oh, I'm tired because she had another job. She had another full time job, was coming home and then was doing that. And she just had no energy for it. But she really, what it is like she just didn't believe in it the same way that he believed in it. Even though it seemed like they started out really like together, eventually she was just like, "This is yours. Like, this is not really," in all the bad ways, but in all the good ways. Like, when people are saying, "Oh, you should have equity because you created the brand direction, et cetera, et cetera." But I'm also like, why are you not out there hustling and trying to help sell it? Why are you complaining and distracting him while he's out there successfully getting it into bars and like hanging out and networking with the bar owners and the people? Like, would you like? I was like, this person is like the worst archetype of a person that you would have as a partner or like someone that works for you, because these are the kind of type of people that will like steal office supplies or like steal your clients and then open their own thing. Like these are like those type of people, or that like are always criticizing their employer, not trying to like make it better. And because I've been both, I've been an employee that's always like, I mean, I've literally had people, like bosses, say, "Why do you care so much?" And I'm like, because it is in my vested interest that this business stays afloat and still has a good reputation because it's on my resume. And they go, "Oh," but it was also like, "No, dude, because I care. That's just how I work." But like some people just don't understand that. So you have to give them like a reason that's like self-serving so that they can understand that. Like that's a very, other than like, "No, it's just because I'm a good person and I just believe in like, you hired me. The transactions, I'm supposed to like do good work for you for the pay. So that's what I'm doing," kind of thing. But sometimes in like industries like fashion and all the cool industries, you have a lot of toxic people that like literally go in and all they care about is like the small vision of where they exist in that company, not realizing it's a bigger picture of making it succeed. And if you have enough people that are in a company that are like that like tear it down, it'll rot from within. If everybody's just trying to take stuff for themselves and like point fingers, it'll rot from within. So, which is what we're seeing in the administration right now. But it's very interesting how you have like reality TV. I guess, well, I mean, I guess they're all reality TV stars, right? Donald Trump and stuff. But I did just see an interview. Actually, I didn't watch the interview. I just saw like screenshots of it, and it was Ivanka Trump in tears talking about her mom. And I was thinking, has she ever cried talking about her dad? I feel like she's always got like a very um nervous smile and laugh when she's talking about her dad. But maybe it's because it's always like it comes up because he always has to say that thing where he's like, "Oh, if Ivanka wasn't my daughter, I'd be dating her." And then she has to go, "This guy." That's like her. So I thought it was really interesting to see how much like I'm glad to see that their mom was a good mom. That was my takeaway from that. So I still think she's a villain, but I'm just saying like it was nice to see like there was some humanity that like touched their lives, because I don't get how they can function in this thing. Yeah. So tell me what you think. What did you think about Melania coming out? What do you think about Summer House? I saw the new clip for next week and for Summer House next week, and wow, it's a doozy. It's a doozy. I I don't know how Amanda Petula comes out of this with a career, honestly. But hey, maybe she could marry a politician and end up like Erica Kirk, who was on Summer House and then ended up in politics. Could you imagine Amanda Batula reaching out to Erica Kirk? Where do I come up with this stuff? I don't know. Ridiculous. Anyway, okay. Tell me what you think. Feel free to comment, DM, email. Remember, Are We the Only Ones Pod? To me on Substack, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. And if you want to email, Are We the Only Ones Pod at gmail.com. All right, until next time.